Yes, that's me, 5 o'clock. Good morning. It is Wednesday, January 8th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Plenty of sunshine today, so that's the good news. But it's going to be chilly, but, it is winter. High 28. Tonight and overnight, a few passing clouds, low 22. And then we get warmer for Thursday. Partly cloudy, high 32. If you're walking out the door with us right now, it's 23 and clear in Valley Cottage up in Rockland County. 22 and partly cloudy in Cranberry over in New Jersey. And it's 25 and a few clouds outside our Midtown studios. We got a lot to get to as we work our way up. 6 o'clock hour. Sid and Friends in the morning. We'll start with Mayor Adams, federal prosecutors saying they've uncovered additional criminal conduct by Eric Adams and his associates in their historic bribery and corruption case against the mayor. Now, they didn't tell us what this is, which is completely annoying. Like, if you're going to announce that, then be very specific. What did the mayor do? The new claims, made with no further explanation, came in a filing late yesterday in which Manhattan federal prosecutors say their ongoing investigation has led them to more alleged crimes. On top of that indictment they have filed against Adams back in September. You'll remember that was the one where they said the mayor accepted free or heavily discounted travel from Turkish officials in exchange for political favors. Adams, of course, denying all the wrongdoing back then. He's set to stand trial in April. Now, are these new charges much more intense? Maybe we'll find out they are, but so far they haven't said a whole lot. The mayor doesn't want to say a whole lot about this either. Federal prosecutors claiming this new court filing yesterday. Adams telling reporters yesterday afternoon this.
Even Ray Charles can see what's going on. I've said over and over again, I've done nothing wrong. Let the attorneys do that. I have to run this city.
Yeah, so he is going to take the point of view that this is all a political indictment of him. The new filing doesn't provide specifics, but Adams has pled not guilty in that 5-count indictment, charging him with accepting the luxury travel in exchange for those political favors, mostly on behalf of Turkey.
I'm focused on running the city. I cannot make that any clearer. I'm focused on running the city. I think it's clear what's happening right now.
Yeah, so the reporters, of course, kept peppering him with questions because Tuesday is the only day the mayor lets reporters do a Q&A session with him when he has these events. Normally what mayors do in the past, just so you know, is they'll hold these press conferences on some topic. And as a reporter, because I worked at City Hall for a short period of time, they let you ask questions first about the topic that they're talking about, whatever that thing is, and then they open up to other Q&A. But the mayor, no, he only does this on Tuesday, so reporters have to wait till Tuesday to ask him these questions. But in the end, he said he had no comment.
Reach out to my attorney.
Yeah.
He's reachable.
Yeah, okay, so we're going to reach out to your attorney. Wow, what is going on in California? Boy, it is bad. 30,000 residents, at least, including obviously a lot of celebrities, have been ordered to evacuate their homes as this wildfire engulfs the Pacific Palisades, while another destructive blaze erupting a number of hours later in nearby Altadena. This was all yesterday, and if you've seen any of the video of this, it is bad. I mean, it's always bad, these fires. This one looks worse, though. Governor Gavin Newsom declaring a state of emergency after he touched down in Pacific Palisades yesterday, met with first responders fighting the blaze that has torched, well, as of late last night, and I imagine this number is higher, it was around 3,000 acres, destroying homes, tens of thousands evacuated. Emmy Award-winning actor James Woods, whose neighbor lost their home, was talking about how he was watching people flee. Other people said, yes, they were going to get out. They weren't going to try to take their chances on this thing.
No, it was a truck burning, and it was flames coming from the engine. There was one car parked in front of it. It's probably going to explode, but the fire trucks can't get into it.
Residents have been told to get out. Schools in the area closed. Fire crews from a bunch of agencies, including Los Angeles City, County Fire, Santa Monica Fire, Calabasas, all in there trying to attack these flames, trying to save homes. Some homes have already gone up. Wind gusts, this is the problem, too. They've been about 40 miles per hour. They think those wind gusts will be high as well. So what's happening is the embers are jumping from one rooftop to another.
I was at Costco, and I got 4 phone calls. that there was a fire. Yeah. And my daughter said it was way up the hill in the Palisades Highlands.
Right.
But I couldn't get through here. I couldn't get through, so I parked at the apartment complex and walked over.
Pacific Palisades is a relatively wealthy area of Los Angeles.
I saw a bunch of my neighbors coming out, and I just heard from one that it hasn't hit any of our residences. There are 75 homes here.
Okay.
And it's down at the very end right now.
You can imagine just how terrible it is, wondering and waiting whether your house will be next.
You hear about how the wind fires or the storm fires, whatever they call it. And it is something that no one needs to play with. People need to evacuate and evacuate. We probably did it a little too late, but it came on us so fast.
Now, when you talk about 30,000 people told to get out of the way, that's a lot of people. One of them, actor Steve Guttenberg, talking about the urgency to get out of the path of the fire that erupted in his neighborhood.
Everybody's got to band together now. Don't worry about your personal property. Take your pictures and everything, but just get out.
Yeah, he's right. I mean, it is in the end stuff, but of course, stuff like a house that you want to be able to go back to. At one point, wind gusts yesterday in this area were between 60 and 80 miles per hour. So, of course, that's not helping firefighters out.
We are evacuating this entire neighborhood. That's all I can tell you right now.
Yeah, so that's one of the fires. Then there's this third large wildfire burning amid hurricane force winds. This is in the hills of Sylmar, and this was burning late last night.
I'm at Herrick and Roxford and Sylmar, and we can see the hills over up above Foothill and Balboa are on fire.
Yeah, so that one started near 5 and the 210 freeway interchange. It's moving north and has jumped the 5 and 14 freeway interchange, if you know this part of California at all. Mandatory evacuations are in order there as well. It's just a mess. Of course, we'll keep our eyes on this fire and what's going on in California all morning long. WABC News Time 5:08. Let's go down to Washington. Memorial services for former President Jimmy Carter shifting to the nation's capital. Of course, first couple days were at the Carter Center in Atlanta. The Georgia native's coffin arriving at the U.S. Capitol yesterday, marked by a 21-gun salute. A public viewing began at the U.S. Capitol last night, and then this morning through tomorrow morning, some of the routes selected for Carter's processional in D.C. was made to replicate his inaugural parade route. You remember he got out of the car and walked, which was a big deal at the time. There'll be a state funeral for the nation's 39th president on Thursday, along with a national day of mourning. Yesterday, you had lawmakers having their own moment in Congress where they were alone with the coffin. Vice President Harris remembering Carter, speaking at a memorial service in the Capitol Rotunda. She noted how the 39th president was able to broker peace between Egypt and Israel. Remember that? It was Menachem Begin and Anwar Sadat who he brought to the White House and brokered that peace deal, which is, well, it's still in place today.
Through his unshakable belief in the power of American diplomacy, he secured the Camp David Accords.
Harris saying that Carter's 4 decades of service after his presidency established a new model for what it means to be a former president.
He instituted full diplomatic relations with China, which he would later call one of the most historically significant accomplishments of his presidency. Jimmy Carter established a new model for what it means to be a former president and leaves an extraordinary post-presidential legacy.
No doubt the Habitat for Humanity, one of his biggest things. Carter's body will lie in state at the U.S. Capitol until tomorrow. 5:10, MTA Chair Janno Lieber says it's way too early to figure out the impact of congestion pricing after the polling program began on Monday. Monday was a light traffic day, but Liebers insists that you can't draw any conclusions from that. But I will tell you, yesterday, now this is only my ride home, I got home so fast yesterday. So it's 2 days in a row of middle of the day driving through Midtown Manhattan. I had no problem. Now, maybe that's just a coincidence, or maybe there's something to less people coming into the area who don't want to slap down $9.
We'll have to see whether we're as successful as we want to be. But the other thing I would say is this is historic. We're the first city in the country to deal with this. I'm getting calls from people all over the country. There's gridlock in all kinds of American cities.
And so he was addressing also the people who were angry about paying that $9 toll that he says, okay, you have to pay it, but if I give you a fast ride home like Noam had on Monday and Tuesday, maybe it won't be as terrible.
What I say to them is your time is worth a lot. If we can make traffic better, that you spend less time wasting traffic, that's better for you. That has real value.
No, of course, is that worth $45 a week? Many would argue no. And it comes as people seem to be getting onto the subway. Now, again, it is the beginning of a new year, people coming back from the holiday, but what people have been telling us is that the subways have been a little bit more snug over the last 2 days. Same with the commuter rail. And the people who have left their cars at home so they don't have to drive into the zone here in Midtown say they're skittish about riding the subway.
I'm afraid that somebody will push me or hurt me.
Yeah, I stand back from the platform. I mean, even if you're standing back sometime, that is not going to stop somebody from, if they're going to push you, they're going to do a hard push.
No doubt. We had told you earlier this week, NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch announcing that they were going to put another 200 NYPD officers to the specially trained patrols on subways, in subway stations to make it feel safer down there. But riders say the issue, of course, is a lot of it is not even crime. Of course, it's the mentally ill who are riding the trains and have these moments that can't be stopped.
Honestly, when they're around, I definitely feel like a little more safer and secure, but it all depends on them. What are they going to do in that moment? I know for me, I'm going to protect myself.
I feel like there should be more on the station, in each station.
Yeah, maybe a cop in each station.
There certainly are ways that they probably could make it a little bit safer, but I feel pretty comfortable.
No, I think they need to revamp the whole system, how the stations look, the security in the station, cameras. I just don't feel safe on the trains anymore.
It was interesting to talk to some of these riders yesterday who say they're willing to be patient with a more crowded ride with the thought that the money being raised from the congestion pricing toll will make their commute better. But they say that needs to happen fast. They want to see that happen, that the MTA is not squandering the cash that'll come in from those tolls. 5:14, down at Mar-a-Lago, President-elect Donald Trump holding a press conference yesterday. It was a long one. He was criticizing President Biden as his time in office is coming to an end. Trump spoke about Congress certifying his election win.
We are inheriting a difficult situation from the outgoing administration, and they're trying everything they can to make it more difficult.
During his remarks, Trump claimed inflation raging. He also referenced Biden's decision to ban offshore drilling, saying that Biden is trying to block the reforms that Americans voted for when they voted for Donald Trump.
And I've been disappointed to see the Biden administration's attempt to block the reforms of the American people and that they voted for. We had a landslide election. We won every swing state. We won the popular vote by millions and millions of people.
And he says there's still a problem with the whole entire election process.
They're still counting in some areas. You know, they're still counting the vote in some areas. Can you believe this?
Yeah, it is amazing. We're going to get more into this story in just a moment. But first, 5:15, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Happy Hump Day. Good morning, Justin Ellick.
Happy Hump Day. Good morning to you, Noam Olin. We will start here with the NHL. How about it? At MSG, where the Rangers dropped in overtime bout to the visiting Dallas Stars. The final score there, 5-4. Jimmy Benn scored on a power play just over 2 minutes into the extra period to secure the victory for Dallas. The goal came with Artemi Panarin in the penalty box for hooking and gave the Stars their only lead, denying New York goalie Jonathan Quick his 400th career win in the process. Trocheck put the Rangers ahead 4-3 with a power play goal at just about the 13-minute mark of the third. Trocheck and Lafreniere each scored twice for New York, which is 6-16-1 in its last 23 games. Panarin had 3 assists. The Rangers, coming off a 6-2 victory Sunday in Chicago, haven't won consecutive games since November 17th and 19th. New York led 3-0 less than 12 minutes in, but Dallas tied it on goals by Duchesne, Dadonov, and Robertson. Quick finish with 34 saves, and the Rangers fell to 8-9-2 at home. They were 30-11-0 at MSG last season when they obviously won the President's Trophy as the NHL's top team during the regular season. Next for the Rangers, they'll host their local rival in the New Jersey Devils come tomorrow night at the Garden. Grab a look ahead to tonight's action on the NBA hardwood at the Garden. The Knicks will welcome in the Toronto Raptors for a 7:30 p.m. tip, while the Nets simultaneously get things going at home against the visiting Detroit Pistons. Checking in on some developments out of the NFL now that the regular season is over. The Dallas Cowboys have denied permission to the Chicago Bears to interview coach Mike McCarthy. A source told ESPN yesterday. Multiple sources said Monday that the Bears had sought permission to speak with McCarthy regarding their head coaching vacancy. However, the Bears will interview Pete Carroll for the job tomorrow. Sources also told ESPN Carroll has expressed interest in the job and would like to return to the sideline in 2025. In Vegas, the Raiders fired Antonio Pierce after his first full season as head coach. The team announced yesterday the team is retaining general manager Tom Telesco, though, who was hired for the role last season. Raiders limited owner Tom Brady is expected to be part of a collaborative committee to interview head coaching candidates and support team owner Mark Davis in Vegas' search for their new head coach.
Is Tom Brady then going to leave Fox to run the team, you think? Or?
No. Oh. No, he would have already left Fox. He's already a team.
So he can do both? NFL, they're fine with that, him being part ownership of the Raiders? And
yeah, I would imagine you just won't see him doing any Raiders games anytime soon. Yeah, I mean, I think so. Yeah, I haven't seen anything, any semblance of an issue there. No,
I have an issue with that.
Do you now?
Yeah.
Why? You big Raiders?
No,
you big Raiders fan?
Curious.
You big Raiders fan?
Oh yeah, huge.
Yeah. I can see you out there with the paint on your face,
yes.
and the
Black
horns
and
coming
silver.
out of your shoulder pads. Yeah, all that stuff. There you go. Finally, gnome out of the MLB offseason, right-hander Justin Verlander and the San Francisco Giants are in agreement on a 1-year, $15 million contract, continuing the future Hall of Famer's career at age 42. Out in San Fran. That's your Sports Gnome, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:19. Let's continue with this press conference from President-elect Donald Trump in Mar-a-Lago yesterday. He said all hell will break loose if the Israeli hostages held by Hamas are not set free by the time he takes office.
But we have the right person. But I tell this, I don't want to hurt the negotiation. If the deal isn't done before I take office, which is now going to be 2 weeks, all hell will break out in the Middle East.
Trump has said that it'll not be good for Hamas if things aren't resolved soon. His envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, said that there's been a lot of progress on efforts to get the hostages in Gaza out. But so far, we've heard about all these negotiations. They all seem to fall through just as we hear about them.
They should have never taken them. There should have never been the attack of October 7th. People forget that. But there was. And many people are killed. They're no longer hostages.
And the president also talking about that he wants to change the name of the Gulf of Mexico.
We're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which has a beautiful ring that covers a lot of territory. The Gulf of America. What a beautiful name.
Georgia Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene immediately taking to X after hearing that announcement, saying she'll introduce legislation to officially change the Gulf of Mexico to what she says is the rightful name, the Gulf of America. Meanwhile, President-elect Trump's eldest son is in Greenland today. Trump addressed the issue of Greenland while giving those remarks in Mar-a-Lago.
We need Greenland for national security purposes. I've been told that for a long time, long before I even ran. I mean, people have been talking about it for a long time.
Donald Trump Jr. posting pictures, videos of him arriving in the country with the caption, "Greenland is beautiful." So, of course, there's been a lot of questions. Why is he so interested in Greenland? But there are a couple different reasons. One is there's this large deposits of rare earth elements that are needed apparently for critical defense and electronics manufacturing on that island. It's the biggest island in the world. And apparently Greenland has a legitimately large claim to the Arctic that would apparently provide the U.S. with a stronger position as competition there heats up for navigation and resources. So those are two big reasons, apparently, the president has his eyes on Greenland. 522. Illegal immigration at the southern border is on the decline, but there is worry that there will be a big spike in the days before President-elect Trump takes office and can implement his plans to kick out a lot of the migrants who have crossed the border.
Criminal smuggling networks in Mexico, they're going to become more desperate.
Lieutenant Chris Olivar is there with the Texas Department of Public Safety, says there are reports that cartels have begun digging sophisticated border tunnels with railways and elevators. Latest numbers from the Fed, the latest numbers show that there's been a 76% decline compared to a year ago, but still the numbers are high of people crossing the border. Meanwhile, Congress passing a bill that mandates law enforcement arrest and detain undocumented immigrants who commit certain crimes.
The Lake and Riley Act, named after a nursing student murdered in February 2024 on the campus of the University of Georgia, passed Tuesday with a vote of 264 to 159. The bill, sponsored by Georgia Republican Representative Mike Collins, mandates that federal officials detain undocumented immigrants involved in theft-related crimes until removal from the U.S. It also allows states to take civil action against federal officials for failing to enforce immigration laws and enable state attorneys general to sue the Secretary of Homeland Security for enforcement failures. I'm Liz Kennedy.
Florida Senator Rick Scott, one of the many, talking about some of the legislation he says he wants to see when President-elect Donald Trump is sworn in. One of those legislative priorities is the Sunshine Protection Act. It would, in Scott's words, lock the clock, meaning we would stop changing the clocks twice a year. The senator says he's optimistic it can get done.
But it's going to take the president to weigh in because, unfortunately, it's not been a high priority for some of the senators up here.
President-elect Trump has weighed in on locking the clock. In a Truth Social post last month, he indicated that he wanted to end daylight savings time. But Scott says fellow Senator Marco Rubio's proposal would be to keep us in daylight savings time year-round.
I've got my agenda. I'm going to do everything I can to help Trump's agenda get done. I'm going to get his nominees confirmed, and we're going to start fixing this country. This practice of changing the clocks just doesn't make any sense. So I'm optimistic.
All right, we'll have to see if they can get it done. 524. Facebook making some major changes to address claims of censorship. Mark Zuckerberg admits that his fact checkers have been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created.
We're going to move our trust and safety and content moderation teams out of California, and our U.S.-based content review is going to be based in Texas.
Yeah, he said in a newly posted video, the move to Texas would help build trust with the public.
It will help us build trust to do this work in places where there is less concern about the bias of our teams.
Facebook also doing away with fact checkers and replacing them with community notes, similar to what's been done on Elon Musk's social media platform X. 525. The New Jersey man facing charges in the deaths of NHL star Johnny Gaudreau and his brother Matthew in South Jersey are entering a not guilty plea.
It was last month when a grand jury decided to indict 44-year-old Sean Higgins on a series of charges, including aggravated manslaughter and reckless homicide. The South Jersey man accused of being drunk while driving and then hitting the Gaudreau brothers while they were riding bikes in Oldmans Township on the eve of their sister's wedding this past summer. During Higgins' post-indictment arraignment, prosecutors revealed a possible plea deal that would include a 35-year prison sentence should he plead guilty. James Flippin for 77 WABC News.
All this cold weather across the country. Of course, it's really cold here. Cold weather down south as well. And Florida's tropical fish farms bracing for potential losses as this cold front brings in lows in the 30s and 40s. Of course, they're not used to that. Sandy Moore is with Seagrass Farms, and she says winter often means more demand for tropical fish around the country. They're worried what's going to happen now.
Anything that forces the consumer indoors and gets them to engage with their indoor hobbies like like aquatics, like fish keeping, is generally good for business.
Tropical fish farmers protect their ponds by covering them with plastic to promote essentially like a greenhouse effect. That works as long as there's sunshine. Many are still recovering from losses after recent hurricanes caused ponds to overflow. So a bunch of unusually chilly nights ahead for, in this case, she's in the Tampa Bay area. She says that could hurt business.
We put metal hoops over the ponds and cover those ponds in clear visqueen plastic, just like you would a plant nursery. As long as the sky continues to be clear, we're good. If it gets cloudy, though, for an extended period, that's when we start to suffer some losses.
Yeah, and she says they've already lost a lot from those hurricanes.